Good evening, and thank you all for coming. Campus safety is a very prominent point of concern for a lot of our students, our staff, and our faculty. It impacts everything we do, our academic performance, where we live, our involvement, and our overall quality of life. The student government and Temple University both hear your concerns. We've held feedback sessions and roundtable discussions, and are continuing to dedicate ourselves to solutions that make our campus, our students, and our community safer. In addition to bolstering Temple's communication via emails, regular updates, TU alerts, and other methods, this town hall will directly address the concerns we have heard from the student body. In addition to, out of respect for your fellow students and the audience, please refrain from flash photography. And with that, I would like to introduce President of Temple University, Dr. Wingard.
Okay. So thank you, Gianni. Thank you to Temple Student Government for organizing this town hall. It's a really critical time for us to be talking about this topic, so we appreciate you putting this together for us. I just want to set the context. You know, when we talk about safety for you all, for the students, we're basically talking about 3 zones. We're talking about safety on campus, so many of you, close to 7,000, live on campus. We're talking about safety for you off campus. Many students live off campus in the patrol zone, the area where Temple Police patrols and covers. And so we are really fortunate to have a campus safety department that Temple Police covers. So on campus and off campus in the patrol zone, we are really well suited. And then there's a third area where students live. You live off campus in an area that's not covered by the patrol zone, not covered by Temple Police, but covered by the Philadelphia Police Department. And so those are the 3 areas. So I just want to make sure that we have a context. Where do students live? They live on campus, they live off campus in the patrol zone, and they live off campus outside of the patrol zone. This is a time right now where we are especially prioritizing campus safety. And when people ask me that, is campus safety important? Is it the safety of our students important? It's the #1 priority. So our board, my leadership team, for me personally, the safety of you all as students is the #1 priority. What you're going to hear about today as we have a dialogue is answering your questions around how important is it, which I just said, it's the most important. What are we doing? We're going to talk about some of the things that we are doing. And then what more can we do? We're getting feedback from you all, from your parents, from our faculty to continue that list to be even stronger. When you look at this infographic up here, this is the first part of the question. You know, and I want you all to know about it. If you haven't seen this before, if you don't know each of these initiatives intimately, I would hope that you get to know them so you can share it with your fellow students. We are doing dozens and dozens and dozens of activities to make sure that you all are safe. Some of these we've been doing for many years. Many of them we've been implemented in the last couple years, and some just more recently, just this year. So when you look at these, there's a lot of stuff from the Guardian app to the flight loop to more lighting to more education to more programs in the community. We're doing a whole lot of things. What's important is that you know what we're doing, that all of you students know how to access those resources, you know how to leverage the opportunities that are available to you, you're sharing those with your peer students. All of that is important. That's part of what today is about, is to make sure that we're communicating effectively all that's available to you. Then the second part is, if there's any gaps in what we could still be doing, we need to hear from you so that we can implement those things as well. So I think it's important, as we sit here today, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Griffin, to think about some of the things that we have been doing which are so important to us. So #1, and I just mentioned Dr. Griffin, we created the position of Vice President of Campus Safety, Public Safety, here on Temple's campus. How long have you been here? 4 months? 6 months?
5 months.
5 months, okay. So we never before had a vice president here in this position until now. And so Dr. Griffin's experience and her background and what she'll be able to bring to the campus by way of strategy, by way of communication, by way of engagement, is going to be something that we never experienced before. So that's one thing that was really important. We also had former police commissioner Charles Ramsey. He used to be the head of police for the city of Philadelphia. He and his team are coming in and are almost finished doing an audit of our whole police department and all the safety and campus resources here at Temple University. He's going to give us a report those things that are good, those things that need improvement, those things that are bad. So we're going to hear from him. So we've been working on that. We have two task forces that we've been working on. One is violence prevention and reduction task force, and we got recommendations from them. We're implementing all the recommendations that they made for us. So if you haven't seen what those recommendations are, Temple Student Government will be able to give those to you. But again, a violence reduction task force was implemented, and they gave us a report, and we're implementing all of those. We also have a mental health and wellness task force, and their recommendations just came out today, so you should be able to see those as well. Because when we talk about safety, we're talking about gun violence, we're talking about battery, we're talking about mental health. There's a systemic problem that's affecting that. So all of these areas are new for us and that we are implementing to try to make things safer for you all. But the most important thing I wanted to say is that from a board standpoint, from the president's standpoint, from our leadership team, this is important. This is really important, and I don't want to say that so that you're scared. I want to say that so that you're aware. It's something that I worry about every night. We're putting resources towards it, and these kinds of issues need interactive dialogue like we're doing. So we're so appreciative of Temple Student Government to be able to share your ideas and feedback with us, and I encourage you to continue to do that. So without further ado, I want to introduce Dr. Griffin, our new VP, who's been here 5 months now, and she's going to talk to you a little bit more about some of the work that we have been doing intimately. A lot of it came from feedback from you, the students, but it's important for you to know what we are doing, what's available, because I guarantee you there are some resources and there's some initiatives and activities around campus safety that we're doing that you don't know about. So I challenge myself around that, but I bet you don't know all what she's going to say. So Dr. Griffin.
Perfect, thank you. So first of all, thank you for this opportunity today. I see some familiar faces in the crowd, so that's always very nice. Truly appreciate the feedback and the engagement. We can only continue to get better because of student engagement. What you experience here on campus is totally different than what I might experience on campus, right? I don't live in the dorms or residence life. I think it's really important to hear directly from you. We're going to talk about some of the resources you have accessible to you, and then talk about the strategy moving forward. Because a lot of times it's easy to say, hey, we just need more police, we need more of this. But it's really not just having those resources, but the smart usage of them. So what is our strategy behind that? And so we'll talk a little bit today about how we're doing more with strategy. So this is the first time with the clicker. All right, so the first thing I want you to know is who makes up campus safety. So campus safety isn't just police officers. In a environment within, whether it's a city, a town, a school, a high school, elementary school, any location, you want to have layers of safety, layers of security, and things like that. So we want to build our strategy. So we have police officers, we have Temple security officers, we also have our dispatch team, which is if you dial in the 1234, you get a communications person that takes your information. We also have partnerships with our contracted allied service that also are in most of the buildings that you see that partner with our security officers. So it's important to recognize we're here 24 hours a day, 365 days. While you were home for winter break, we spent a lot of time working on our education, our skills, knowledge, and abilities so that we're providing the highest level of safety training to our people, and that they can do that in return if we have an incident here on campus. So we have 8 distinct campuses, and we'll talk a little bit about what those campuses look like and how we provide services to them. But again, it's really important that we have kind of a complete team for safety. And so over winter break, our police officers are going through active shooter training. So this is a standard, this is the gold standard. We'll continue to do that twice a year. And it's important for us to continue train on it. Just as you go to class, I'm sure all of you take notes, you take exams, you leave, go to the next semester, and what do? Kind of like, things become less important, less at the front of our mind. And so for us, we want to make sure that our police officers are training to that gold standard for active shooter every 6 months. So it keeps it relevant, keeps their skills very sharpened and aware in case we have an issue. For our security officers, this is the second level of security for us. They're also doing active shooter training and protocol for if we have an intruder, right? So their situation is going to be much different. They're not armed, so we want to make sure that we have the skills for them on what they should do if we have somebody inside one of the residence life facilities or in one of our academic buildings, or if we just have somebody on campus. as well as Allied Universal, which is the contracted company that we use. They also went through the same training for if we have an intruder, because we work so much hand in hand with them, we want to make sure that we're all following the same protocol. And then our communications center team is going through training. They're just starting it, so it'll be during the spring semester for them to also get active attack for emergency dispatchers. So just as you continue to get education, so do we. That's a big part of having a highly skilled police department and agency. So it's important to talk about, as the president said, we want to talk about what is Temple University Police Department's jurisdiction. And so we have a MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding. It's an agreement with the City of Philadelphia on where we will handle complaints and where we police, and then where they handle. And the reason that this is important is because we are a city university operating within the city. Philadelphia has primary jurisdiction of all of the city of Philadelphia, to include the universities. So within the patrol zones, we co-police those areas. So on campus, you'll see a lot of our police officers that are on bicycles. You'll see security officers on bicycles on foot patrol. And then in the outer area, you'll also see us on bike, foot, and vehicles. And so it's important to realize, like, this is where you will primarily see us. You won't see us outside the patrol zone policing. That's the primary jurisdiction of Philadelphia. So for us, we want to make sure that we continue to push out these maps so that our students and our faculty know where you can find us if you need us, and if you call, who's going to come. If you call 911, it is always going to directly go into Philadelphia Police Department, because they're the primary agency. If you dial the 1234, it directly comes into us. So don't be alarmed. We have communications. We also have their computer-aided dispatch. So if they get called to something and it's within the patrol zone, our communications team is watching the board. They might see something and be like, okay, this is, Philly just got a call to go to Charles Library for a disruption there. And then we'll send our team over as well, and we'll assist with them. So hopefully it's bigger for all of you. Good. It's very small for me, which is why I brought some paper. But a couple things that we're doing initiative-wise that we're really proud about on continuing to work on safety and crime prevention, right? So I try to focus on what are the things I have control over and how can I impact them the strongest and the quickest, most efficient way. And so one of the partnerships we've engaged in is the Coalition to Save Lives. It's built on 3 core pillars, and I think this is really important to expand on, but it's coordination, resources, and information. This is for the entire city of Philadelphia. Temple has signed, we were an early group to sign on to it. We're committed to this. This is going to help us with different types of research and working with nonprofits, working with faith-based organizations and other institutions across the city on what are we all doing, what are the successful strategies, and can they be implemented at other locations. We have monthly CompStat meetings. Our leadership team within campus safety meets on a monthly basis. We talk about crime stats, we talk about reduction, we talk about strategy, resource allocation, we talk about personnel challenges, like, is one shift shorter? How do we address that? How do we make sure that we have proper staffing? Do we have issues specific to one campus? Do we have crime trends that we need to address? To really make sure that we're constantly communicating with our team. And I give a little bit of information up there when we talk about Chief Ramsey and CompStat. So it's really important because the number one thing, it's timely and accurate information or intelligence for us to act on. The second is rapid deployment of resources. And third is effective tactics. And fourth is consistent follow-up. If there's a trend or anything like that, we want to constantly be evaluating, okay, this is the strategy we're going to use. Now we need to track the effectiveness. Has it made a difference or not? And if it hasn't, then we have to go back and say, okay, maybe we need to change the strategy. This isn't effective. And so we continue to work with the leadership team of Philadelphia Police Department. I met with their deputy commissioner and several other leaders to talk about, let's talk about trends, let's talk about our students. I love the city of Philadelphia, but my core responsibility is to all of you. And so my, kind of every time we have the meetings is I love hearing about the city, but let's talk about my family, let's talk about the Temple family, and what issues are we having and how can we better address it through collaboration and coordination. And so community engagement is extremely important to us. We have a lot of different things that we do out in the community that may or may not affect some of you. We have volunteers in the room who I know have assisted with us with, the holiday events, Halloween, safe Halloween trick-or-treating, code, food drives, things like this. It's important to realize that we are part of the fabric of North Philadelphia. And so as a major employer and also a contributor to the environment and the culture, we want to be good neighbors too. And so we spend a lot of time working with different organizations to make sure that we're helping our students be good neighbors, but then as a university, we're doing the same. Directed patrols, these are visible patrols to deter criminal activity in the patrol zone. In that zone where we police with Philadelphia, there's an overlapping of services. And so we're always mindful that we don't want to over-police. Some communities might not want a heightened police presence. And so we're constantly working on that balance. And then hotspot policing when we have any issue, and that's where we put efforts in a small geographical area specific to a crime issue or a trend, and then how are we going to concentrate to address that crime. So we continue to work on that, and I'll talk a little bit about crime prevention through environmental design as it relates to our residence halls. So like I said, we want to layer in safety initiatives and strategy, and it's people, it's technology, it's different types of resources and programming. So one of the recommendations from the Violence Reduction Task Force is looking at cameras and things like that. We were already in the process of that, so it was a great recommendation that we felt good about. We have approximately 1,300 cameras on campus that are monitored from our communications team, our investigative team, and our supervisors. And so we wanted to make sure that those cameras are the best quality, we're getting good pictures in. And so as we did that review, we've identified a list of cameras that need to be replaced. Some of them, some areas that we need to add cameras, so that's an ongoing thing. That project will never be over. I think of that as like if we had different initiatives and some are red that we haven't started, some are yellow because they're in progress, some are green because we've completed them. I like to think of these as the blue. This is something we constantly have to do. As soon as you get a new cell phone, like within 6 months, it's already outdated. Cameras and technology are the same thing. It's a constant process. We've improved lighting during the winter months at 4 different high traffic locations. So as you are walking around campus, if you see a location that doesn't have as good a lighting, please feel free to communicate back with us. We're working with our facilities team to make sure that we have good lighting. The Rave Guardian app, it's a virtual safe walk chat with police, and it also has different features. So it's like 2 buttons, you hit the app, you can hit another button, and you're directly into our communications team. So please make sure I have some things at the end so you can download it. It's very helpful. You can also, if you don't want to call a police officer to do the walking escort, you can go in there, you can do a virtual walk, and if you don't log out when you said you would be done at your final destination, it starts calling your family and friends that you have listed in there, or it calls into Temple Police Department. So another safety feature that we'd like everybody to be aware of. The TU alert system, I talk about this a lot, but it is really meant to send out immediate notifications for incidents that pose a threat to our campus environment, so within the patrol zone, that we need you to take immediate action on. And that's why they're very brief. It's like, hey, we have this incident at this location, we need you to avoid the area. Or, hey, you know, we have cleared the area and you can resume normal activity. So one of the feedback that we received was, you know, can you give a follow-up so that we know, like we were sending out before, like avoid the area, and then hours would go by and I'm sure students were kind of like, okay, can I go out? Can I do this? Whatever. Now we send the follow-up that is important to let you know that things are cleared up. We have over 90 code blue phones on all of our campuses, 60 of them on main campus in HSC. We are constantly looking. We're actually looking at some technology now that we can take a camera and put it on top of the code blue phone. So if you go up, you punch the button, somebody will ask you, hello, you've reached communications, how can I help you? A camera will activate above it. So if there's any issues in the area, we have easily visibility to see it. I'm going to move through some of these. We've performed 1,222 walking escorts at the end of the year. We keep track of that. Please continue to use that service. We want you to feel safe, and if, you know, calling us and having us walk with you. We don't have to walk beside you. If you feel uncomfortable, sometimes students will say, well, I don't want to walk with a police officer. I don't want to walk with a security officer. Totally fine. Call us. You can walk a little bit ahead of us. We're not holding hands, so we can definitely, like, you know, be respectful of your privacy and your space, but please call and use the resource. Newer program that we've just instituted within the last couple months, it's called the Best Nest program. It's a 2-tiered program. There's Cherry and Diamond badge, and what this does is it requires that places that you all rent within the patrol zone, they're licensed, they have insurance, they have lighting, they have safety features, they have cameras and things like that. So we want to make sure that we are constantly like evaluating that to make sure that people are using those resources. Flight shuttle system we've added because of you. We've added an East Loop. And so that's really important because we're hoping to cover more of our campus to make sure that students have access to this. There's 50 drop-off and pickup locations, operate 7 days a week between 6 p.m. and 2 a.m. I like to tell students this is really to get us from academic, athletic activities back to near or close to your residence or where you're going. As I jokingly tell students, like, I know that they would like us to run till like 3 or 4 or 5 on the weekends, right? It's really meant as an academic. You know, we want you to get places safely. So please be mindful of that. We're continuing to evaluate that too. So if there are other issues with it or we need to add stops, we actually have a contracted company that provides us feedback to make sure that we are actually handling people in those locations and getting them where they need to go. So, anti-violence and initiatives. I'm just going to go over a couple things I'm excited about. So we're establishing 4 distinct advisory committees. One of them will be our students, faculty, and staff. Another one will be with our parents. A lot of times when I speak to students and student government, you know, and Lily, I talk to people and I'm like, hey, how do you feel on campus? Let me have your feedback. I mean, you guys are living your best life, supposedly right now. I personally think like the best years are yet to come, but it is a really fun time that you're away from your parents. Many of your parents are very nervous about you living on campus or off campus. I get a lot of emails. So I want to give them an opportunity to like both give us information and for me to share information so that they have that. And then one is with our neighbors and our business communities, and the last one will be a advisory committee between law enforcement, criminal justice, and public health officials to talk to us about strategy. What are the things they're saying? What is research saying? Evidence-based strategy so that we can continue to be very responsive to our agency and also to you. And then the last one I'm going to touch on is just the communication and collaboration, key piece, what we're doing here today. So we're hiring a new director of messaging and communication. Important for us because we want to be more outward-facing, getting communication out to all of you. Since I've come here, I've been sending out a lot of messages through email. Sometimes students say, hey, I don't really read my email. I say, well, I understand, but I have to get it out somehow. So we're constantly looking at Instagram and Twitter. How can we reach you where you're at? So increasing messaging. Our website is completely being redone so that we have more outreach and engagement, and it's accessible and transparent. And we're exploring a goal strategy platform and dashboard so that you can see these were the recommendations from the task force, these are the recommendations for 21CP, and you're going to be able to see like how Temple Police is doing on moving forward with those. And then the last one is that we meet frequently with the FBI, Philadelphia Police Department, their executive leadership team to talk about strategy and how we can better coordinate resources between those. So I know we have questions, and I wanted to quickly get through that. So thank you. Couple things. I'm always into like making sure that we have the information moving forward. But there's QR codes. I think everybody got some handouts. Please feel free to use those. Use our website. I know that Gianni and his team is constantly putting out information. So please feel free to communicate with us even after today's event. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So we're going to begin with the questions and answer session. So there's obviously a lot of moving parts that go into campus safety and public safety in general. It's not just policing. There's a lot of components and factors at play. So what long-term challenges, for Dr. Wingard, what long-term challenges do Temple and Philadelphia face in addressing public safety?
That's a good question. You know, when we talk, and I talk a lot with you all as students, our faculty, our parents, and one of the questions that comes up often is, well, why is it so violent all of a sudden? And it's not all of a sudden. It's been a very gradual increase over time, but violence is a systemic problem that is really plaguing the United States of America. This is a countrywide phenomenon, and you see that as evidenced by the highest rate of gun violence in Detroit, in Chicago, in Los Angeles, in Houston. It's the highest rate of violence in 2022 in the city of Philadelphia. So we see that as a systemic problem. Why is that happening in these places? You even see gun violence that's happening, mass shootings. We saw one in Los Angeles over the weekend, and we continue to see that around the country as well. So when you think about it, it, mental health is a problem, poverty is an underlying problem, the lack of jobs is a problem. So there's a lot of access to guns. It's easier to get a gun now than it ever has been. So this systemic problem that we have in this country in particular is showing lots of cases of violence, urban settings, rural settings, suburban settings. Philadelphia is seeing that problem. North Philadelphia, as a component of Philadelphia, is really seeing a rise in violence. And so here we are, Temple University in North Philadelphia, in the city of Philadelphia, and there are all the advantages. The reasons why you all came here as students is for the rich and vibrant experience of being in a city, and you are realizing those experiences and those opportunities. But there are some safety concerns that we have, which we have to be really careful and mindful to use the resources, mindful to educate ourselves, mindful to have partnerships that really allow us to be safe in this context. And so to answer your question around policy, all of what Dr. Griffin just said, we have to implement strategies. We have to have partnerships with the city of Philadelphia, with the FBI of Philadelphia, with community organizations. We have to have partnerships with you all as students, as faculty, as staff. This is not an easy problem to fix. It's very complicated. And so when you ask the question, what else can we be doing as a university community to protect ourselves, we have to do all of what Dr. Griffin just said. And she could talk for another 2 hours, believe me, on the things that we are doing, the things that we are trying. And we don't have enough time for that. But the main answer to your question is that we have to form more partnerships because it's a systemic problem and it requires a lot of partnership, a lot of interactive groups working together in order to be able to solve it. We can't just do it as an academic institution.
Absolutely. And before I go into the next question, I would just like to add on to that, in that public safety is a nationwide issue right now. It is not unique to Temple, and it is not unique to Philadelphia. And any solution to it is not going to be overnight, it is not going to be instant, and it is not going to be singular. And it's going to require a lot of collaboration, not just with Temple University and TUPD, but with all our city partners, our state partners, and our federal partners as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And my next question for Dr. Griffin. So Temple has a large commuter population, with many traveling at night and later in the day, especially along regional rail and the subway. How can commuter students keep themselves safe, and what safety practices is Temple planning specifically for commuter student safety?
And so this is a good question because we've actually just addressed some of these things within the last couple of weeks. There was an issue up by HSC at the sepsis stop in and around that area. And so we're mindful. First, we have a relationship with SEPTA Police Department and Philadelphia. And so we're working to collaborate with them when something happens in or around campus on one of those areas, that we get the information so that we can share it. Typically, if there's an issue off campus or outside of the patrol zone, Philadelphia Police Department doesn't just automatically notify us. It's outside our patrol zone, so there isn't that reasoning, right? Yeah, typically we're not out there policing, so they didn't notify us. So we are working to figure out what can we communicate to students when there is an issue. I ride regional rail every day. I absolutely love riding the train. I never rode any public transportation until I got older and in this position, and I actually very much appreciate the opportunity to not have to drive. And so we're trying to push out messaging. We'll be running some more messaging in the spring semester further in about how our faculty can ride safely. SEPTA also has an app that you can send in messages through. You don't have to call in, but you can actually text and have that availability. So I would recommend that students are also using that resource as well. But we'll be pushing out more information on how to keep people safe, just like we did when we talked about residence life and living off campus, some of the different strategies students can use.
And when the university is evaluating these different safety services, like flight, like the TU alerts, what factors does the university consider during that evaluation?
So I'll give a couple of examples, and that'll make it probably more real and helpful. So especially with flight, it was a different service before. There was student feedback, and then graduate students actually worked on revising it and creating a different flight. And now that's what it currently is. And then we went through another review, and we've added 10 more stops. So depending on what it is, if it's a technology thing, I would love to just be able to purchase different things, but everything interconnects. So I have to make sure that every purchase that we make is also working with previous technology or the infrastructure that we have here. So we're currently looking at a couple different things infrastructure-wise for technology. So usually what we do is we bring in a couple different vendors. We look at the different technology that they have. We have a team of people looking at things. We evaluate those. We make sure that they're going to interface well with the systems already, and then we make decisions. Sometimes it isn't just getting something new, but improving what we have. And so we look at the existing programs first and say, okay, what are the resources we have available to students, faculty, on campus, or if it's a technology thing, and then does this need to be enhanced, right? So we don't need to just completely start from scratch again. Sometimes it's just building in those layers and looking at how they're going to interface. So like license plate readers, there's some facial recognition things. There's all kinds of different technology we can use. We also have to look at the legal parameters of it. So we have to talk to general counsel and like, are we able to do this? Is this something that we have the, like one of the things, we can't put cameras outside of off campus. Like not within the patrol zone, I'm talking on campus, because we need network and connectivity. And so our cameras are on campus. So there's a lot of different things that go into it, including feedback from students or faculty about different initiatives that we need to do.
Thank you. Thank you. And we know the university has many existing services, flight, T alerts,
Right.
Rave Guardian. But communication is key, because if students aren't aware of it, they aren't much use to anyone.
Right.
So how is the university going to improve its communication on campus safety services to the students?
A couple different ways, and this is one of the things, coming into this position that was priority number 1 or 2. It was very important because we are doing great things. Our police officers are out there patrolling and working, but we also need to communicate that better. And we were not doing a great job at getting information and messaging out. So a couple things. Number 1, we're hiring a director of messaging and communication. This person's sole job is to communicate, message through all the different mediums, whether it be Instagram, Twitter. There was this thing called Facebook that your parents might use. We'll probably, we'll still continue to keep, we're going to do that. So, and then we're also going to use our website. We're getting a brand new website, which is going to make it so much easier for you to find things. I want you to be able to come to our website and be like, hey, I need information on, I don't know, resident safety. I'm moving off campus my first year, and I want to know what are the best practice. Boom, you can find it. Or I have never ridden flight, or I don't know about this walking escort, or I need to download the app. So we want to have a very robust website so that we're communicating with you through that. And then the other piece of it is just doing exactly these. It's having these opportunities to sit down with students, faculty, staff, our community, our business leaders, and talk to them about what are you seeing, what do you need from us, and then being honest and transparent about what services we can provide. So my goal is always to be honest, and would I love to throw a bubble around Temple? Yes. But would that make it very fun for you? No. So, we have to balance the different types of strategies we use, but communication is key, and we'll continue to work on that. So we're looking forward to engaging more on those initiatives moving forward.
Thank you. And in addition to main campus, we have several satellite campuses throughout Philadelphia: Health Sciences, the Center City campus, the School of Podiatry. So how is Temple addressing the safety concerns at those specific locations that differ from the needs of main campus?
Sure. So we have 8 distinct campuses, including our Japan and Rome. And so we constantly have communication with them. So up at HSC, we talk to the deans, we talk to the Temple University Hospital executive. I've met with their executives and their legal counsel on things. And we have resources up at HSC, so we're constantly in dialogue with them. I would say that I frequently get emails from the deans saying, hey, we had an issue, or one of our students brought this to our attention. And we take it and we say, okay, let's look at what do we have available resource-wise, what do we need to do up there, and then we communicate back with them. I received an email from the dean yesterday. Within an hour, I responded back with a response. So we work really hard to make sure that we're communicating with the other locations. If there is a need, either myself or one of my staff handle that, and we figure out what's the available resource and how do we use it appropriately. There's usually a little bit of communication back and forth for sure.
Thank you. And for President Wingard, you touched upon this in your answer earlier. A lot of the violence that we're seeing now is systemic, and it's been growing for a long time. And as we know, community outreach and improvement reduce these systemic factors that lead to crime in the long term. So what policies and involvement are Temple pursuing within North Philadelphia beyond traditional policing practices? And how is the university approaching maintaining a safe off-campus environment in partnership with North Philadelphia?
So Temple University, all told, the university, the health system, we are about 60,000 people in this ecosystem. So that means we are a city within a city. And the resources that we have as a university have allowed us, Gianni, to be able to partner with, provide resources to the community in a whole number of ways. So whether it's for feeding during holiday meal season, whether it is gun access education, whether it is for healthcare resources, being able to be covered for medical care. There's, education for GED training, things like that. We do a whole host of things people will never know about. I talk, Dr. Valerie Harrison is here now, so she and her team have led this for many years, and the broader community will never know how much Temple University actually does in partnership with and in support of the community. And we do all that because we're an academic institution, and we should do that. It's core to our mission. We also do that because there's great need here in North Philadelphia. And so we do a lot of that work, and I'll say that up front. There are a whole list of things that we do and we are engaged with, and it benefits the community, and it helps to curb the violence, because as I said earlier, when you're talking about mental health and poverty and job reduction and the access to guns, those are the underlying systemic issues that cause a lot of the safety problems that we have. Now, on the other hand, there is a whole lot more that we could be doing with the community. And a lot of that comes from the student community. If the students were to get engaged, if you all were to volunteer through organized efforts that we already have in a much greater capacity than you currently are, we could do so much more in the community. And so many students are asking about this, and I'm sure some of you would say, well, I would love to do that, tell me what to do. And so that's why these kinds of town halls, the messaging that we put on the website, the interactive discussions that we have, help to make you aware of, it's not just a matter of, am I safe on campus? It's what can we do to make sure that we and the community are safe together, and how can we be part of that? It's a part of the learning experience when we're here on campus. I don't think it's just going to class and getting your degree. I think being involved in the community, volunteering, learning how to be a better citizen is really important for us. So if we can get our students, we can get all of you more involved in the work that we are already doing. If we can have more impact than we are already having, then we will help even in a greater way curb the safety concerns.
Thank you. Broad Street and Cecil B. Moore Avenue are major arteries of traffic within Philadelphia that cut across campus. There have been some incidents with, car accidents, students crossing and cars driving through red lights. This primarily affects a lot of off-campus students and also some of the residential students living in the dormitories as well. So what policies are being pursued to ensure pedestrian safety along these roadways?
I think that's probably for me.
Oh, yes.
Unless you have some ideas,
Hey.
we're always willing to take them. So I think, it is a concern because we are, it's a unique campus where we have still traffic going through certain areas. So one of the things is our police officers are actively patrolling those, stopping drivers who violate traffic violations, and then we're giving out tickets. Sometimes we give out warnings, but we have to also do, it's part education, part enforcement, and so we are doing more enforcement. So we also partner with Philadelphia Police Department, who have Broad Street, so we work with them and their traffic teams that come out to do more enforcement, as well as making sure that we're doing education on what are the things that we need to be mindful of, like staying in the crosswalk, walking on the, when we have the correct symbol to go across, those type of things as well. So it's kind of one of the unique things about Temple is that it is kind of, you have this major thoroughfare, which in some ways is very nice because it makes it accessible for us, but then it also creates some safety issues that we have to address as well.
And what modifications are being made to campus facilities to improve safety?
Right, and so that's the other piece of this. We're just not police officers, security officers, dispatchers, or that team. We also do a lot with providing education and then also doing different types of assessments with our teams. And so some of the things we've done is with Residence Life, we've gone through all of our residents' life halls. And we've talked about, okay, let's talk about what are the safety things that concern us. Some of it is doors get propped, people let other people in, because they don't want to check them in because we can only have so many guests, or they can't spend the night, or they want to bring alcohol in. And then ours is, where do we have cameras? How is our safety at the front end? So are we using environmental design appropriately? So some of the older dorms that some of you might be staying in, or residence halls, are not outfitted with the new safety turnstiles. So we're looking at making sure that we're implementing technology at all of the residence halls so that people actually have to use an OWL card to get in. It's going to be more security. It'll be safer. It might be a little bit less convenient, but it gives us the ability to make the dorms or the residence halls safer. So we're trying to do that not only just for the residence halls, but also for our academic buildings. We've gone out and done multiple safety assessments with the deans and their staff. We've talked to them about what are you seeing? And then we have a robust team that goes out and does after actions with them. So it's a continual process. It'll never be over. We're a city university. We are semi-open, right? It's an open university. Our buildings academically, we have OWL cards, but then some of our buildings are open to our community because we're part of the community. We're a part of this fabric. And we want to make sure, just as we have gone out into the community, we want to make sure that people feel welcome when they come here. And so it's a balance of trying to figure out what safety do we use while also making it accessible for people.
So Gianni, can I ask a question? Can I flip the panel for
Yes,
a second?
sure.
So you've asked us a lot of questions, and we've given you a presentation about all of the resources we have here on campus, all the initiatives that we are trying to implement to make sure that our students are safe. And you've been asking us questions that have come from the student body, and so I think that's representative. But if I were to ask you, as a representative of the student body, do students feel like they are safe on campus? Do they feel like there is something else we can be doing? Maybe they don't know about all that we're doing, but now that you've heard it, do the students feel like there's something more that we can be doing that we can talk about now and work on to implement moving forward?
So I'm going to take this time to actually directly address some of the students regarding this question. There is a lot of misinformation going on about services at with regards to campus safety, and a lot of misinformation surrounding campus safety. And I think every student needs to understand that no one at Temple wants anyone to be unsafe. Everyone at Temple wants every student, every faculty member, every staff member to be as safe as possible. A lot of these services are freely accessible to you, and there's some misinformation going on. And I understand that a lot of you are angry. I'm angry too. I think there is an obscene number of incidents taking place against students, and whether it's on campus or outside the patrol zone, it shouldn't happen. But I think what ultimately needs to be done is that there needs to be extensive communication surrounding these our safety services, and we need to directly address the fact that, yes, we know you are scared, and we don't want you to be. We want you to be safe, and we want you to have a good college experience. And we're doing everything in our power, in partnership with the community, in partnership with City Hall, and in partnership with the state and federal government, to make sure we achieve that. So I think most of all, students need to know that these concerns are being addressed. They are the top priority for this university, and that there is not anything that would make us want students to be unsafe. Safety is our top priority.
Thank you. You can go back to your questions. I just wanted to interject that one.
No, that actually concludes the question.
Oh, that was okay.
I mean, I really want everybody to I want you to have fun. I came to Temple because I actually toured here and first I've been teaching for 10 years at the University of Delaware. I love students. I love interacting. It's such a unique place in your life where you actually have the opportunity that you probably won't later to just work on you. You're going to school, you're learning to take care of yourself, you're making decisions. And we want you to have a great experience here at Temple. I want you to be safe. I want you to do it I want you to have fun, but I want it to be safe. And so we're constantly working to create an environment where you feel safe both on campus and within the patrol zone, and that when you leave the patrol zone, that you feel safe going back to wherever you're staying or you're going home to. So it's a constant conversation. We are going to continue to increase our communication. We also want you to engage with us and give us like things that we can do and things we can help with, because we don't always have all the answers. I mean, a lot of these issues are mental health driven. There's a lot of issues with COVID, gun access and things like that. And unfortunately, it's not going to be just one thing that we can do that's going to solve the issue. We're going to have to try a lot of different things and work with a lot of people to try to bring successful conclusions so that you can all feel safe and that we can, all enjoy the experience that you've signed on to do here. So I appreciate the opportunity tonight. Student government's been wonderful, providing information and access. So thank you very much.
And the comment about misinformation is valid. The comment about the need to communicate better is valid, and we will continue to work on that. As Dr. Griffin said, I concur with you. It's important that you all have fun, have a good educational experience. I also concur and with the fact that we are all scared. We are all angry. We are all worried about what's going on, not only in Philadelphia, but across this nation. And so we want to ask the right questions. We want to do the right initiatives. It's important that we take this issue very seriously. And I go all the way back to what I said first off, which is this is the #1 priority for our university right now. We want to make sure that our students are safe, and we want to make sure that you all are having a good and fun experience. I'm looking forward to moving to campus in a couple of months, just off campus on Carlisle Street. And some people have asked me, well, are you doing this just to prove that it's safe? And that's not the case. I've been here for a year and a half, and this was the intention for me to be able to move to campus from the very beginning. We didn't know where, because no president has lived on campus, and so we didn't have a dedicated presidential house, but we've established one now, and my wife and my son and I are looking forward to moving in. And the reason why we want to be here is the same reason why you wanted to come to Temple. There's a lot of opportunity being in Philadelphia, being on campus at Temple University. There are a lot of resources from athletics to arts and culture to academic exchanges, and we want to be a part of that with you, and we know you want to be a part of it. So you chose the right place to be. You chose Temple University for the right reason. You chose Philadelphia for the right reason. You all know that there are resources, and you know more than you knew before, resources to keep us safe and to keep your fellow peers safe. We have to follow the guidance that we've been given. We have to use those resources and tools, and we have to share the information that is real, as you said, Gianni, so that people can feel good about it. But we also have to maintain steadfast focus on doing as much as we can, because we don't want to be worried. We don't want to be angry. We don't want to be concerned about our safety in this regard. I don't want that. You don't want that. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your diligence in working to make this campus a better and better place, and continue to push us, TSG, so that we can make sure that the university is getting what they want, not only in campus safety, but in mental health and some of the other issues that we have. So thank you all for your leadership.
Thank you. Before we wrap things up, I would just like to end by saying Temple University and TUPD, we're part of the solution, but public safety, we can't address the public safety challenges we have on campus and in North Philadelphia without addressing it for the entire city. So any solution, it's not just going to be Temple University, it's not just going to be TUPD, it's going to be all of our city partners, all of our community partners working to make sure that both you and the community and everyone in Philadelphia are as safe as possible. And with that, thank you for attending. I would like to invite everyone next Thursday, February 2nd, from 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. We will also be having a second town hall. Once again, if you have any questions, submit that to TSG ahead of the town hall. And if you didn't hear it addressed tonight, it can be addressed at that town hall as well. So thank you. And if you have any questions or concerns, please contact the student government.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.